The secret to creating flexible and powerful MATLAB scripts is to use variables effectively. As the name implies, variables store changing values and can serve as the basis for calculations in your scripts or in the command window. In this movie, I will work solely in the command window, typing commands to illustrate how to use variables in MATLAB. Variables are named entities within MATLAB that let you store the result of a calculation or of a value that might change. Variable names must start with a letter, and they are case sensitive. So, for example, if I were to type in var1 equals 3 and enter, then I would see var1 equals 3. If I were to display the value of var1, I could type var1 and enter, and I would get number 3. However, if I type capital V AR1 and enter, then it's undefined because I have not assigned a value to capital V AR1. You also see that the program has asked, did you mean var1 with a lowercase v? And it offers that text for you. When you press enter, it appears. You can, but you shouldn't use a built-in function name as a variable name. So, for example, square root or CEIL for ceiling, which rounds a value up to the next integer. You can use them, but you really shouldn't. There are some reserved words that you can't use, and rather than list them out, just understand that the program will let you know if you make a mistake. As I demonstrated before, you assign a value to a variable using an equal sign. So let's say that I wanted to calculate the tax on a particular purchase. I'll give the amount of the purchase in a variable named price, so with a lowercase p, type price, P-R-I-C-E, then an equal sign, and then the number 30. So we'll assume that this purchase costs $30, euros, pounds, whatever. Press enter, and I get my value. And you can also note that the way that I have my window configured, and if you're working with MATLAB as it was installed, then you probably see it too. Over here in the workspace, I have my variable names and the current value. So I have price equals 30, and if I want to calculate the tax, then I can use a calculation. So I would type tax, T-A-X, equals price, then an asterisk for multiplication, and let's say the tax is 4.5%, and that is rendered numerically as 0.045, and enter. So I see the tax on that purchase would be $1.35. If you type a calculation without assigning it to a variable, MATLAB uses the default variable name ANS, A-N-S, which is short for answer. So if I just type price times 0.045 like I did before and press enter, then you see that the ANS or ANS variable has the value of 1.35. ANS displays its current value, but it will be reassigned if you do another calculation without naming a variable. So in general, it's not a good idea to use it as a variable. So let's say that I type 3 plus 4 and enter. I get 7, and that's been assigned to ANS. So now ANS is equal to 7 rather than 1.35. And if I type ANS and enter, you see that it's currently equal to 7. You can get a list of your variables within the command window by typing who. So if I type the word who, W-H-O, and enter, then I get a list of my variables. But you note that it's just a list. I don't get the values like I do over here in my workspace. If you want more information, type whos, W-H-O-S. So who-s, I guess, is a better way to say it so you don't spell the word W-H-O-S-E. So I just type W-H-O-S, enter, and there I get my values, or rather descriptions of the variables. So I see the size is a 1 by 1, meaning it's just a single value, and it's an 8-bit double. And double, in this case, means a particular data type, which I'll discuss elsewhere in the course. MATLAB also has quite a few built-in constants, and those include pi, which is useful for the area or circumference of a circle, among many other calculations, and I, which is the square root of -1, which we use a lot in math and engineering. To demonstrate how those constants work, let's say that I want to find I squared, which should be -1. So if I type I and then a caret followed by 2, indicating that I'm raising I to the second power, and enter, I get the value of -1. If I want to find the circumference of a circle using the formula 2 pi r, then I can type 2 times pi, spelled out in lowercase, then an asterisk for multiplication, and let's say the radius is 10. Press enter, and I get 62.8319 as expected. Now, in many programming languages, you can define a constant, and you would do that in a script above the main routine within the program. MATLAB is different in that you can't define a constant that doesn't change. However, some programmers will create their own constants using variable names that are indicated in all capital letters. So, for example, if you had a commission rate and you wanted to call it COMM, C-O-M-M, all caps, then equal, and you could type it in at 6%, so that would be 0.06, and enter, then that value has been assigned to COMM, and you've indicated that it's a constant by rendering it in all capital letters. Again, you can change it so it's not a true constant, but if you make a comment indicating what its value should be, if something gets changed within the program, at least you'll have a record of what it should be. I've spent a bit of time discussing variables in MATLAB because they're so important. Hopefully the techniques that I've shown you will allow you to get a lot out of the program.